Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his massive warship, staring at the blue planet below. Earth looked exactly like their spy reports had described, white clouds swirling over green and brown land masses, city lights twinkling on the dark side. Everything was perfect except for one terrible problem. There were no humans anywhere. "Scan the planet again," he ordered his crew, his voice sharp with anger. The Zenthari admiral had crossed half the galaxy for this moment. Behind him floated the largest invasion fleet in Council history, over 3,000 warships ready to conquer the human homeworld. Commander Yoon sat at her control station, her fingers moving quickly across the glowing buttons. She was human herself, captured from a small colony world when she was young. The Council had trained her to help understand her own species. Now she felt sick to her stomach as she read the numbers on her screen. "Sir, the scans show the same thing," she said quietly. "All the big cities have power. The lights are on. Cars are parked in neat rows. But there are no people anywhere on the entire planet." Kethvar's sharp teeth clicked together in frustration. This made no sense at all. The Galactic Council had been watching Earth for 50 years. Human radio and television signals painted them as a weak, divided species. Their governments were always fighting each other. Their technology was hundreds of years behind Council standards. They should have been easy to defeat or control. "When did their broadcast stop?" he demanded. 3 days ago, Yoon replied, checking her records. Every single transmission went silent at exactly the same time. Radio, television, internet, everything stopped at once across the whole planet. The Admiral walked to the main viewing window. 7 billion humans didn't just disappear into space. They had to have gone somewhere, but where? And how? Their ships were slow and primitive. It should have taken them years to evacuate even a single city, let alone an entire world. "Send teams to the surface," Kethvar ordered. "I want to know what happened down there." Dr. Velthara materialized on Earth's surface in a flash of blue transport light. The Council's top scientist had studied hundreds of worlds, but this one felt different. She stood in the middle of what humans called New York City, surrounded by towering buildings that stretched toward the sky. Cars sat perfectly parked along empty streets. Traffic lights still changed from red to green to yellow. But there wasn't a single person anywhere. Specialist Jin ran his scanner over strange black marks on the ground near what looked like a launch pad. "Doctor, these energy readings don't match anything in our databases. The molecular patterns suggest technology much more advanced than what we saw in human transmissions." Dr. Yoon examined an abandoned government building, her equipment beeping as it detected hidden rooms deep underground. There are massive facilities beneath this structure. Laboratories, manufacturing centers, computer systems, none of this was in our intelligence reports. The investigation team spread across the planet, finding the same pattern everywhere. The humans hadn't fled in panic or fear. This was the most organized evacuation in galactic history. Food warehouses were empty but clean. Transport vehicles were properly maintained and fueled. Even the garbage had been disposed of correctly. In Seoul, Technician Nam discovered something that made his blood run cold. Deep beneath the city, he found a communication center still running on automatic systems. The equipment was far more sophisticated than anything the Council thought humans possessed. "Dr. Velthara," he called through his radio, his voice shaking. "I'm picking up deep space sensor readings. There are strange signals coming from the edge of known space. Entire star systems are going dark." The doctor felt her 2 hearts skip beats. This wasn't just an evacuation. Something much bigger was happening. Back in space, Admiral Kethvar received reports from all his teams. Every human city told the same story. Advanced technology hidden beneath primitive surfaces. Carefully planned departure procedures. And most disturbing of all, evidence that the humans had been preparing for this moment for a very long time. "Sir," Commander Yoon said from her station, "I found something in Earth's communication systems. It's a message, but it's encoded in perfect Council standard language." "Show me," Kethvar demanded. The message appeared on the main screen in simple, clear text. "Thank you for watching. We have been watching too." The bridge fell silent. Watching too? What did that mean? Yoon's fingers flew over her controls as she accessed more files. "Admiral, there are records here going back over a century. Detailed scans of our observation posts. Complete technical specifications of our ships and weapons. They knew everything about us." The terrible truth began to dawn on Kethvar. The humans had known about the Galactic Council for generations. They had been feeding the Council false information, making themselves appear weak and divided while secretly developing technology that surpassed anything in Council space. Find me answers, he growled to his crew. I want to know where they went and what they are planning. But deep down, the Admiral already suspected the truth. The humans weren't running away from a fight. They were graduating to something bigger. And whatever they had planned next, the Galactic Council wasn't ready for it. As his ships orbited the empty Earth, automated systems deep beneath the planet's surface quietly recorded everything, storing data for purposes the Council couldn't yet imagine. Dr. Velthara stepped through the empty streets of Seoul, her boots echoing off the silent pavement. 3 days had passed since the investigation teams arrived on Earth, and every discovery made less sense than the last. The human city stretched in all directions, its tall buildings reaching toward the sky like metal fingers. Everything looked normal except for the complete absence of people. Specialist Jin knelt beside a large circular platform in the middle of a park. His scanner beeped rapidly as he examined the strange burn marks covering the ground. Doctor, these energy signatures are unlike anything we've seen before. The molecular displacement patterns suggest some kind of advanced transport technology. More advanced than our own transporters? Velthara asked, though she already suspected the answer. Much more advanced, Jin confirmed. Whatever created these marks could move massive amounts of matter instantly across vast distances. Our transporters can barely handle a few people at a time. Dr. Yoon called out from across the park where she was examining what appeared to be a simple playground. Her equipment had detected something hidden beneath the innocent-looking swings and slides. There's a massive facility down here. The readings show laboratories, manufacturing centers, and power systems that extend for kilometers underground. Velthara hurried over, her scientific curiosity overriding her growing unease. How deep does it go? At least 50 levels down, Yoon replied, checking her scanner. And the technology down there? It's not primitive at all. Some of these energy readings are beyond our current understanding. The investigation teams had found similar hidden facilities beneath every major human city. What the Council had observed from space was apparently just the surface layer of human civilization. The real technology, the real infrastructure, had been hidden deep underground where orbital sensors couldn't detect it. Technician Nam was working in what humans called their Internet Center, a building full of communication equipment that connected their entire world. But as he examined the systems more closely, he realized they connected much more than just Earth. Dr. Velthara, he said through his communicator, his voice tight with worry. These communication arrays aren't just for planetary use. They're designed for intergalactic transmission. The humans have been sending and receiving signals across multiple galaxy clusters. The doctor felt a chill run through her body. For how long? The equipment logs show activity going back over 200 years, Nam replied. But that's impossible. Humans weren't supposed to have spaceflight technology until recently. Velthara was beginning to understand that everything the Council thought they knew about humans was wrong. The broadcasts they had intercepted, the primitive technology they had observed, the constant wars between human nations, it had all been carefully constructed deception. In Tokyo, Specialist Lee discovered abandoned research facilities that contained technology the Council had never seen before. Machines that could manipulate matter at the atomic level. Computers that processed information faster than anything in Council space. Energy systems that drew power directly from quantum fluctuations. How long have they had this technology? Lee asked her team as they examined a device that seemed to bend space around itself. According to these records, replied Dr. Park, reading from a human computer terminal, they've been developing it for over 3 centuries. But they kept it secret, showing the galaxy only their oldest, most primitive equipment. The pattern was becoming clear across all investigation sites. Humans had deliberately maintained 2 levels of civilization. On the surface, they appeared to be a young, struggling species barely capable of space travel. Underground, they had built a technological empire that rivaled or exceeded anything the Galactic Council possessed. But the most disturbing discovery came from Technician Nam as he continued monitoring deep space communications. The readings he was detecting from the edge of known space were getting stronger and more numerous. Doctor, he called Velthara urgently, those star systems I mentioned earlier, more of them are going dark. 12 systems in the last 6 hours. And I'm detecting massive energy signatures moving between galaxies. Moving how? Velthara demanded. Faster than light, but not using any propulsion technology we understand. It's like space itself is being folded and compressed to allow instant travel across impossible distances. The implications hit Velthara like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just hidden their technology, they had developed capabilities that made them the most advanced species in the known universe. And now they were using those capabilities for something that involved multiple galaxies. Admiral Kethvar received the investigation reports aboard his flagship with growing alarm. His scientists were telling him that humans possessed technology that could transport entire populations across intergalactic distances. They had been secretly monitoring Council communications for centuries. And now something was happening at the edge of space that involved star systems simply vanishing. "Sir," Commander Yoon reported from her station, "I've been analyzing the human communication logs. They contain detailed technical specifications of every Council ship class, complete tactical analyses of our military capabilities, and what appears to be strategic planning documents for scenarios involving galactic relocation." "Relocation?" Kethvar asked. "It looks like they've been planning to leave this galaxy for decades, possibly longer. These aren't evacuation plans, they're graduation ceremonies." Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring across the ship. Long-range sensors had detected something approaching from the edge of the solar system. A single ship, using propulsion technology that registered as impossible on their instruments. "It's heading directly for us," Yoon reported. "And sir, it's transmitting a message." The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of an unknown spacecraft. A human woman in a simple uniform looked directly at the camera, her expression calm and confident. "Admiral Kethvar," she said, "I am Commander Lee of the Terran Expeditionary Force. I believe you have some questions for us." The human ship appeared without warning, sliding out of space like a ghost materializing from thin air. Admiral Kethvar watched from his flagship's bridge as the sleek vessel approached, its design unlike anything in the Council's databases. No exhaust trails, no energy signatures that made sense, just smooth movement that defied everything he knew about physics. "How did they get past our sensor grid?" he demanded, his voice sharp with frustration. Commander Yoon checked her instruments twice before answering. "Sir, they didn't get past our sensors. They bypassed space itself somehow. One moment there was nothing, the next moment they were there." The communication request came immediately, transmitted on frequencies the Council had never shared with any human colony. Admiral Kethvar accepted the connection, and the main view screen filled with the image of a human woman in a simple gray uniform. She looked young, but her eyes held an ancient confidence that made the seasoned warrior uncomfortable. "Admiral Kethvar," she said, her voice perfectly calm. "I am Commander Lee of the Terran Expeditionary Force. Thank you for visiting our former home. I hope you found it educational." Kethvar's mandibles clicked together nervously. Something about this human's manner suggested she held all the cards in whatever game they were playing. "Where are your people? What happened to Earth?" "We moved," Lee replied simply. 7 billion humans, plus all our colonies. It was quite an operation, but we've been planning it for some time." "Moved where?" Commander Lee smiled, and the view screen split to show images that made everyone on the bridge gasp. Massive space stations orbited unfamiliar stars. Cities floating in space that dwarfed entire Council worlds. Ships by the thousands, their designs elegant and impossibly advanced. "The Andromeda Galaxy Cluster," Lee explained casually. "Much more room to grow there. Better neighbors too. We've already established contact with several species who were excited to meet us." Dr. Velthara, who had been transported up from Earth for this meeting, leaned forward. "How long have you been planning this relocation?" "Actively? About 200 years. But the groundwork was laid much earlier." Lee's expression remained pleasant, as if she were discussing the weather. "We knew about the Galactic Council long before you knew about us." Intelligence Officer Yoon felt her stomach drop. "How long?" "Your first observation post was established in the year 1847 by human calendar," Lee said. "We detected it 6 months later. Since then, we've been carefully monitoring your surveillance efforts and feeding you selected information." The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of ship systems. Kethvar found his voice first. "You've been lying to us for over a century?" "Not lying," Lee corrected. "Managing information. You were watching us, so we let you see what we wanted you to see. Primitive technology, divided governments, constant warfare. Meanwhile, we were developing what we really needed." She gestured, and the view screen showed new images. Underground facilities that stretched for kilometers. Manufacturing centers that could build ships in hours rather than years. Research laboratories where humans worked with technologies that looked like magic. "Your surveillance helped us tremendously," Lee continued. "Every scan you took of our primitive technology told us exactly what we needed to improve. Every analysis of our society showed us which weaknesses we needed to fake more convincingly. Technician Nam spoke up from his station. The star system's going dark at the edge of space, is that you? Partially, Lee confirmed. We're cleaning up some old projects. You see, humans have been exploring this galaxy much longer than you realized. We had to retrieve certain assets before our official departure. What kind of assets? Dr. Velthara asked, though she dreaded the answer. Lee's smile widened. Insurance policies. Backup plans. Call them what you will. We've always believed in being prepared for multiple scenarios. Admiral Kethvar tried to regain control of the conversation. What do you want from us? Why reveal yourselves now? We don't want anything, Lee replied. We're simply being polite. When you leave someone's galaxy, it's good manners to say goodbye. Leave? You've already left. Most of us, yes. But we left a few things behind. Consider them graduation gifts. Before anyone could ask what she meant, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Communications Officer Park's face went pale as reports flooded in from across Council space. Admiral, Park said, his voice shaking, we're receiving emergency signals from 12 Council worlds. Ancient structures on their surfaces have suddenly activated. They're doing something to the planets. Commander Lee nodded as if this was expected. Ah, right on schedule. Those would be our archaeological sites. Your what? Velthara gasped. Stone circles, crystal formations, geometric patterns carved into canyon walls, Lee explained patiently. Your scientists catalogued them as primitive human ruins from failed early expansion attempts. They weren't ruins. They were sleeping. The view screen showed new images now, massive structures rising from the ground on distant worlds, ancient stones revealing themselves to be sophisticated machinery, crystalline networks spreading across entire continents. How long have those been there? Kethvar demanded. The oldest ones? About 12,000 years. We've been visiting this galaxy much longer than you suspected. Officer Yoon stared at her instruments in disbelief. You've had time travel technology for 12 millennia? Time isn't linear when you understand how to fold space properly, Lee said. We've been very careful to avoid paradoxes, of course. Can't have history changing unexpectedly. More alarms sounded as additional reports arrived. The ancient human sites weren't just activating, they were transforming entire worlds, changing atmospheres, adjusting gravity, turning council planets into something else entirely. What are you doing to our worlds? Kethvar shouted. Commander Lee's expression remained calm and pleasant. Improving them. Consider it our way of saying thank you for watching over our old neighborhood. Don't worry, you'll find the changes quite beneficial once you adjust. And if we don't want your improvements? Lee tilted her head slightly, like a teacher addressing a particularly slow student. Admiral, you pressed the button too late. The time for choices was 50 years ago, when you first decided to spy on us instead of introducing yourselves properly. The transmission ended, leaving the Council fleet alone with their transformed galaxy and the growing realization that they had never been the advanced civilization they thought they were. Director Park stood in the Council's emergency command center, watching 12 different worlds burn on the massive display screens. But they weren't burning with fire, they were burning with change. Ancient stone circles that had sat silent for thousands of years now pulsed with blue energy. Crystal formations that archaeologists had dismissed as natural rock suddenly rose from the ground like living things. Geometric patterns carved into canyon walls glowed and spread across entire continents. Report from Zenthari Prime, called Communications Officer Minute, her voice tight with fear. The stone circles are releasing some kind of gas into the atmosphere. It's changing the air composition. Same thing happening on Velkara, added Technician Joe from another station. The crystal formations are growing and connecting with each other. They've covered half the northern continent in the last 6 hours. Director Park felt sick as he watched his civilization crumble. These weren't attacks in any sense the Council understood. The human devices weren't destroying anything, they were improving it. Making it better. And that somehow made it worse. Admiral Kethvar's voice crackled through the communication system from his flagship. How long have these structures been on our worlds? Park checked the archaeological records, his hands shaking as he read the dates. Some of them over 10,000 years, Admiral. We found the oldest ones on Sekthar, geometric patterns that we thought were carved by primitive human visitors who died out long ago. They weren't visitors, said Dr. Velthara, who had been studying the activation patterns. They were advanced scouts. These humans have been preparing this moment for millennia. On the main screen, reports continued flooding in from across Council space. The human structures weren't just changing individual planets, they were connecting with each other across vast distances. A network was forming, linking worlds that were light years apart through methods no Council scientist could understand. The gravitational readings from Mordak are impossible, reported scientist Kim. The human devices are somehow adjusting the planet's mass without changing its size. The gravity is becoming lighter. Zenthari Prime's atmosphere is now breathable by 17 different species, added Dr. Yoon. Before today, only Zenthari could survive there without breathing equipment. Director Park began to understand the horrible truth. The humans weren't punishing the Council for their surveillance. They were upgrading Council worlds to galactic standards, human standards. Sir, called Officer Minute urgently, I'm receiving a transmission from the human ship. Commander Lee appeared on the communication screen, still looking perfectly calm. Behind her, the interior of her ship showed humans working at stations covered with displays showing every Council world. Director Park, she said pleasantly, I hope you're finding our planetary improvement program satisfactory. We've been planning these upgrades for your world since our first survey missions. Survey missions? Park asked weakly. Oh yes. We've been visiting Council space for quite some time. Those archaeological sites your people discovered? They were never abandoned ruins. They were construction projects, built by human time travelers who visited your past to prepare for this day. The implications hit Park like a physical blow. Time travelers? We've had temporal manipulation technology for several thousand years, Lee explained. Very useful for long-term planning. We could see exactly how this day would unfold, so we made sure everything was ready. Admiral Kethvar's voice cut through the transmission. What do you want from us? Nothing, Lee replied. We're leaving, remember? These improvements are our gift to you. Your worlds will now support multiple species types. Your atmosphere will be cleaner. Your gravity will be more comfortable. Your planets will be connected to our galactic communication network. We didn't ask for any of this. Lee tilted her head slightly. You didn't ask to spy on us for a century either, but you did it anyway. Consider this our response to your surveillance program. Technician Nam spoke up from his monitoring station. Commander, we're detecting massive energy signatures from beyond the edge of our galaxy. What are those? Lee's smile grew wider. Those would be our main fleets returning from other assignments. You see, while you were watching Earth, we were busy elsewhere. The screen split to show images that made everyone in the command center gasp. Hundreds of galaxy clusters filled with human ships and space stations. Worlds transformed into garden paradises. Space cities that housed billions of people. The scope was beyond anything the Council had ever imagined. How many galaxies do you control? Dr. Velthara whispered. Control is the wrong word, Lee corrected. We prefer shepherd. And the number is currently 4 to 7 galaxy clusters, though we're always expanding. Director Park found his voice. 4 to 7 galaxies? But Earth was your homeworld. Earth was our nursery, Lee said gently. The place where humanity grew up. But children eventually leave home, Director. We've been adults for a very long time. Officer Joe checked her long-range sensors, her face pale. Sir, the energy signatures are getting stronger. Whatever's coming, it's massive. Our peacekeeping fleets, Lee confirmed. They're coming to oversee the transition period. Don't worry, they're not here to conquer anyone. We're here to teach. Teach what? Park demanded. How to be proper galactic citizens. How to think beyond single worlds or solar systems. How to plan for centuries instead of election cycles. Lee's expression became almost motherly. The Council tried to press a button that would start a war. But the button you should have pressed was the one that said hello instead of invade. The transmission paused as Lee consulted something off-screen. Oh, and Director Park? You might want to evacuate the Council chambers. We're converting that building into a museum tomorrow. There's a lovely plaque being installed that explains what happens when civilizations wait too long to make the right choice. The screen went dark, leaving the Council leadership alone with their transformed worlds and the growing realization that their galaxy now belonged to humanity. Outside, the first human peacekeeping ships began arriving, their hulls gleaming with technologies that made Council vessels look like ancient toys. The age of human guidance had begun, whether the Council wanted it or not. Council Prime Zekthor stood in what had once been the most powerful room in the galaxy. The Grand Chamber where the Galactic Council had ruled over hundreds of worlds now displayed museum plaques explaining how civilizations fell when they chose conquest over conversation. Tourists from dozens of species walked through quietly, reading about the great mistake that ended an era. 6 months had passed since the awakening, and everything had changed. The human fleets hadn't come as destroyers or conquerors. They had arrived as teachers, administrators, and peacekeepers. Their massive ships filled the skies above every council world, not threatening but simply present, like patient adults watching over children learning to walk. Ambassador Jo stood near the memorial wall, reviewing reports on her tablet. She wore the same simple gray uniform that all human officials seemed to prefer, with no fancy decorations or symbols of rank. Yet everyone in the galaxy now understood that she represented the most advanced civilization in known space. The terraforming networks are operating perfectly, she reported to the small group of former council leaders. All worlds now support multiple species types. Air is cleaner, gravity is more comfortable, and the new transportation systems allow instant travel between any 2 points in the galaxy. Transportation systems? Asked Dr. Velthara, who had become something like a student in her old age. The stone circles, crystal networks, and geometric patterns, Jo explained patiently. They weren't just changing your worlds, they were connecting them. You can now travel from Zen3 Prime to Velkara in minutes instead of weeks. Director Park looked up from his own tablet, where he was studying what humans called galactic administration principles. What about our governments? Our laws? Our traditions? All preserved, Jo assured him. We're not here to destroy cultures. We're here to help them grow beyond single-planet thinking. Your local governments still handle local issues. We only step in for matters that affect multiple worlds or species. Former Admiral Kethvar, now serving as a security liaison, struggled with the new reality. But you've taken over our entire civilization without firing a shot. Jo tilted her head thoughtfully. Have we taken over, or have we simply provided better management? Your people are healthier, safer, and happier than they've ever been. Crime rates have dropped to nearly zero. No one goes hungry anymore. Wars between species have ended completely. She gestured toward the large viewing window, where Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. But it wasn't empty anymore. Massive construction projects surrounded the planet, orbital rings, space elevators, and something enormous being built on the far side. What is that structure? Dr. Velthara asked, pointing at the mysterious construction. The Galactic University, Jo replied with obvious pride. We're building it where humanity began, as a symbol that all species can grow and learn. The first classes start next week. Classes in what? Everything. Advanced physics, temporal mechanics, interspecies psychology, galactic economics, long-term strategic planning. Jo smiled warmly. The things you need to know to be proper galactic citizens. Technician Nam, who had been working with human engineers to understand their technology, looked worried. Will we ever be allowed to govern ourselves again? You're governing yourselves right now, Jo pointed out. Local decisions are still made locally. We only handle coordination between worlds and species. Think of us as galactic traffic controllers rather than galactic rulers. Officer Minute studied the reports coming in from across human space. The communications we're intercepting from your other galaxies, how many civilizations have you done this to? Done this to? Jo repeated, sounding genuinely puzzled. You make it sound like punishment. We prefer to think of it as graduation ceremonies. She activated a holographic display that showed the known universe. Dozens of galaxy clusters glowed with markers indicating human presence. Each one showed thriving civilizations, peaceful cooperation between species, and technological advancement beyond anything the Council had imagined. Every species goes through the same phases, Jo explained. First, they develop space travel and start exploring. Then they encounter other species and usually try to conquer them. Eventually, they realize that cooperation works better than conquest. We just help speed up that final step. And if a species refuses to cooperate? Kethvar asked. Jo's expression became sad. That's very rare. Most civilizations, once they see the benefits of galactic citizenship, embrace it enthusiastically. The few who don't. She paused. Well, they usually change their minds after a generation or two of seeing how much better life can be. Dr. Park looked up from studying human educational materials. How long will you stay? When do we get to run our own galaxy again? You're running it now, Jo said. We're just providing guidance and infrastructure. As for how long we'll stay, that depends on you. When your species demonstrate that you can think in centuries instead of election cycles, when you can plan for the good of entire galaxies instead of individual worlds, when you choose cooperation over conquest. She smiled. Then you'll be ready to join us as equals rather than students. The former council leaders exchanged glances. The idea of becoming equals with humans seemed both impossible and oddly appealing. There's one thing I don't understand, Velthara said. Why go through all the deception? Why pretend to be primitive when you were so advanced? Joe walked to the center of the room, where a new plaque had been installed. It read, "In memory of those who pressed the button too late, and in hope for those who will press it at the right time." Because, she said softly, every species needs to make the choice themselves. If we had revealed our true nature a century ago, you would have tried to fight us or worship us. Neither response leads to growth. By letting you think you were the advanced ones, we gave you the chance to choose conquest or cooperation on your own. Outside the windows, Earth's orbital university continued growing, a symbol of hope that even the most warlike species could learn to think beyond their own small corners of the universe. The age of human guidance had begun, and for the first time in galactic history, every species was learning to reach for the stars together.